All right, I'd like to give you a little introduction to the Routledge Handbook of Esports. I was the senior editor of this project. There were four associate editors, Nicolas Bissombes from France, Tom Brock from the UK, Amanda Cote from the United States, and Tobias Schultz, who started in Germany at the beginning of the project and moved to Norway. And the commissioning editor of this project was Simon Whitmore from the UK. And I wanted to just give you a little bit of history of how this book came about and what it took to create such a massive global project that resulted in 62 chapters of really the world's first comprehensive overview of esports. So first, let's get into some background information on how this book came to be. Back in 2022, I did a book review for Routledge on an esports related book and was then approached by Routledge to put forward the Handbook of Esports. And so I collected a book of global editors, and the five of us met 6 different times from July to September in 2022 to go over really, the focus was what should be in the book. What's the outline look like? What should we put in the proposal to Routledge? And it was a lot of making sure that we weren't overlapping content, that we weren't leaving out what we thought was important information, and where do we draw the line of what is maybe some content that we don't include. And so it was a lot of intense discussion that was a total of probably 8 to 10 hours. So by September of 2022, that resulted in a 20-page proposal, which covered the aims, objectives, synopsis, detailed table of contents, a description of each of the chapters, a chapter template, a draft outline, a definition of who we thought was the target market for the book, what were the competing books that were out there, our biographies, and then who might be the potential reviewers to blind review this proposal. And this book was really written for a global overview, so from an international perspective, from a 30,000-foot view of what is esports and who are the key stakeholders and what do we need to know about it. From a perspective of somebody who may not know much about esports at all, they can understand it. So the proposal was sent to 4 different reviewers without us knowing who these reviewers were, and included in those reviews back to us, organized by Routledge. Reviewer A stated, ambitious, 50 contributors and 5 editors. That's a lot of review and editorial work, plus additional editor written contributions. It should be noted that this is an incredibly ambitious project and overreaches in several places, meaning this reviewer felt that it was too much to cover in one book. Reviewer D writes, Section 2 is a book. Sections 4, 5, and 6 are another book. Sections 3, 7, 8, and 9 are a different book. Authors want to include all the information in one book, and that's not possible. So the reviewers were skeptical of whether this project, so ambitious, could be done. Fortunately, Routledge went through and accepted the proposal, and we worked through a contract, and we also presented our ideas to the Esports Research Network conference in 2022 at Jönköping University in Sweden. And so we had a discussion with us editors. We presented our ideas for the book. We tried to get people interested, get feedback from people who attended the conference. I also created a survey to collect interest for people who might want to write or review chapters of the book. So we had an open call for participation. We did not want to seem like that we were just the people who knew everything about esports and that this was going to be thrown, esports in the way it should be viewed, just thrown down your throat. We wanted it to be an open reception, open opportunity for people to be involved in this project within the esports research community. So as I said, we created that survey. had nearly 125 responses from people who were interested in being involved in this project. So the final Routledge Handbook of Esports ended up at 62 chapters, which was actually a little bit more than what our proposal stated. We broke down those 62 chapters in 10 different sections. Section 1, Introduction to Esports. Section 2, Esports Research. Section 3, Esports Players. Section 4, Esports Business and Management. Section 5, Esports Media and Communication. Section 6, Esports Education. 7, Critical Concerns in Esports. 8, Global Esports Cultures. 9, Esports Future Directions. 10, Key Terms Definitions. All of those decimal pointed chapters are individual chapters. So 2.5 is chapter 2.5, Qualitative Esports Research Methodology, for example. So in total, there were 93 different authors across the 62 chapters. This overall was a 2.5-year project, and we had authors back out of every stage. So even from initial getting people interested to asking them if they would author, some people had time, some people didn't. We had people submit outline of their chapter, and some people said who they were going to write the chapter, never submitted outline. Then we find a new person to fill in that space. Then when it came to submitting your first draft of the chapter, some people submitted the outline and then never submitted a first draft. Then we were back to stage 1, finding a new person to fill that chapter. Same thing, we sent away for peer review, and we had authors who would never respond to the peer review, and so we had to work through those types of issues across the whole project. But overall, as a group, the authors did stupendously with working with us. Here's an alphabetical listing of the 93 authors, and these authors come from around the globe. The author demographics, which we collected by self-report methods. So across the 93 authors, they represented 27 different countries, and 19 of the authors represented more than one country. So they may be a certain nationality, but then live in a different country currently while they were writing. These authors represented varied genders. Nearly a third were women, and we had one non-binary author. And you can see here are the regions of the world of where these authors came from. So we purposefully tried to pull a diverse authorship pool from around the globe. Certainly we were limited by the English language. So the book's written in English, and so that impacts how many people have experience and the capability of writing academic research in English. But we are very pleased with the representation. Within each chapter, we had what was called a research bite, which was an insert of a particular case study, or more commonly, we had interviews with people from the esports industry that were embedded and related to the chapter's specific content area. And here are the 24 different interviewees that are included within the handbook across the chapters. And we can see they range from coaches to CEOs of esports organizations to esports directors, and is a great accumulation of knowledge that's embedded within the handbook. So as I stated, each of the chapters, other than the introduction chapters, were peer reviewed, and they were sent out to 279 different reviewers, and we had a total of 154 different reviewers. Here's an alphabetical listing of all the different reviewers that reviewed at least one of the chapters across the handbook. So except for the intro chapters, 53 of the chapters were peer reviewed. Across the handbook, we sent the chapters to 289 reviewers, and each chapter was sent to an average of 5.5 reviewers. The goal was to have at least 2 reviews per chapter, and that gives us feedback, and it increases the rigor and the quality of the chapters when you have blind peer review. And the range of reviews sent per chapter, so each chapter was sent to 4 to 10 reviewers based upon how many people return their reviews. If not enough people return their reviews, then we'd send it to more and more, which 2 different chapters we had to send to 10 different reviewers, the law chapter and the cheating and ethics chapter. So 165 reviews were returned. That number is higher because a few of the reviewers reviewed more than one chapter. We had a total of a 57.1% response rate for reviews, which is phenomenal. We're really excited about that. And every one of those chapters was reviewed by 3.1 reviewers. And the range of reviews per chapter was 2 to 5. And then we had 5 chapters that had 5 peer reviews done on them. So across the 154 reviewers, they came from 30 different countries around the world, which provides really unique, diverse perspectives when they're reading through information. And 15 of the authors represented more than one country. So an example for the applied psychology in esports, sports psychology and esports chapter, we had a really good perspectives from different sports psychologists and mental coaches that worked in varying levels of the industry, as well as from different countries that have different rules and laws relating to that. And that provided a great significant contribution to the overall quality of that chapter. These reviewers included 70% men, 28% women, 2 non-binary individuals, and 1 gender fluid reviewer. And these reviewers, again, hailed from all over the globe. And you can see a diverse representation of their reviewers. So upon release of the book in September of 2024, it came with great acclaim. We had a lot of humorous social media posts with various authors or reviewers or people who purchased the book, including their pets on social media with the Handbook of Esports, including my dog in the top left there, Jammer. Here are sample LinkedIn posts about the handbook. So this is only for less than 1 month after its release. We had great sales, 5 times the amount of sport handbooks in similar categories. As far as the chapter ebook usage, we had over 4,400 requests within Routledge's ebook platform. For Twitter, they had over 12,000 impressions on the Taylor and Francis Sport Twitter accounts. We had international sales. We had a LinkedIn reach of over 70,000 people with post engagements on LinkedIn, and the all metrics, which are social media engagement types of metrics. We had over 144,000 engagements across Twitter, i.e. X, Facebook, and Instagram. Well, if you're a SRU student, then you can get this book through inclusive access. However, for those of you that may not be an SRU student, here's where you can get a copy. So the book currently is available through hardback, which is significantly more expensive, and the ebook as well. And that can be found on the Routledge website. They're also available through other booksellers such as Amazon. Each chapter does have an abstract, although Routledge, for some reason, does not include the chapter abstracts within the book. And so if you're interested in reading the abstracts of the chapters, then you may go to the Taylor and Francis website, which lists the chapter abstract of every single chapter. One last thing I want to call your attention to is chapter 10.1, which is the key terms definitions. If you're familiar with the Urban Dictionary, you may be, when you're looking up a particular term that's being used in the general common lingo of the day. Well, chapter 10.1, key terms definitions, the editors all came up with, and we defined over 390 different esports and gaming relating terms. Across the handbook, they are bolded in the text, so you can know that if it's bolded in the text and it's not part of a title, then look it up in chapter 10.1 and you can see that definition of esports technology gaming related terms. So if you have any questions about the Routledge Handbook of Esports, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I hope you enjoy reading it yourself.